Yes, reduce for launch. Roger.
25.
Status check. Go Atlas. Go Centaur. Go goes R.
The launch of the GOES-R satellite marked the beginning of a new era in American weather monitoring. It also marked the end of a long campaign of design and construction, accompanied by delays and some setbacks. Planning for the GOES-R series of 4 advanced weather satellites started in the early 2000s. Experiments and training for the series began in the late 2000s, using data from other satellites as a proxy for GOES-R data. Forecasters were looking forward to using the satellite, whose new instruments, including the camera-like Advanced Baseline Imager and the Geostationary Lightning Mapper, would produce 50 times more data per day at a much higher quality than its predecessors. As the construction of GOES-R neared completion in April 2016, I got to give a talk on using weather satellites for hurricane forecasting to the builders at the Lockheed Martin factory in Littleton, Colorado. This included a photo op in front of the satellite in the factory's clean room. Out of view to the right, the GOES-S satellite was already under construction. After GOES-R was shipped to Cape Canaveral in the summer of 2016, Hurricane Matthew, seen here in this satellite imagery animation, caused a final lengthy delay in the launch. The launch date was eventually set for November 19th. Margie, myself, and others in the South Florida NOAA weather community had VIP seats for the launch at the Kennedy Space Center Saturn V Center, about 6 miles from the launch pad. The launch pad itself was Space Launch Complex 41 on the property of the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. This was our view of the launch pad from the Saturn V Center that also shows the perfect weather we had for the launch that afternoon and evening. The launch vehicle was a 2-stage Atlas V with 4 solid rocket boosters operated by the United Launch Alliance. The Atlas booster stage used liquid oxygen and kerosene as its fuel, while the Centaur upper stage used liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. GOES-R was attached to the top of the Centaur upper stage. Here is a zoomed-in view of Space Launch Complex 41 and the Atlas V rocket. The 4 white-topped towers near the launch pad are lightning rods. Before the launch, we toured the Saturn V Center Museum, celebrating the Apollo program and lunar exploration. The centerpiece of the museum is a fully restored Saturn V rocket inside the more than 400-foot-long building. Here Margie gets a picture of me at the bottom of the Saturn V. No single picture from inside the museum can capture the enormity of the Saturn V. The next several pictures will try to show just how big the moon rocket really was. Here is a last look down the length of the museum building underneath the Saturn V moon rocket. Back outside, the now fully fueled Atlas V rocket vents boiling off liquid oxygen. The launch was originally scheduled for 5:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but the countdown was halted due to multiple technical issues. During the delay, I was wearing this rather pensive-looking launch face. The Cape Canaveral area is a wildlife refuge as well as a spaceport, and local wildlife entertained us during the delay. This particular local wildlife was probably looking for dinner in the grandstand. Darkness fell as we waited for the countdown to resume. However, night launches are usually rather spectacular. Finally, as the end of the day's launch window approached, the final 4 minutes of the countdown started at 6:38 p.m.
Yes, reduce for launch. Roger. 25. Status check. Go Atlas. Go Centaur. Go goes R.
15 seconds and counting. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of goes R, America's most advanced weather eye in the sky, elevating environmental intelligence to new heights and saving lives.
Looks good. Now flying the zero angle tech phase of flight. Flight rates good. Booster has throttled down as scheduled. Response looks good. Roll program is complete. Flight rates controlling down the middle.
Listening to the voice of Marty Malinowski.
Mach 1.
Standing by to maximum max Q. This is the maximum aerodynamic. Because of the dominating velocity resistance created by the atmosphere.
That was the sound of it coming.
Atlas 5
Booster has begun throttling back up. We're done. And response looks good.
goes our spacecraft. Continue into flight. The United Launch Alliance Atlas booster doing its job. One minute, 50 seconds into flight. The first two solid rocket boosters will be jettisoned, followed by about a second and a half later by boosters 3 and 4.
Coming up an SRP jettison, and we have the first pair and the second pair. Looks like a good separation. And we have at our roll bias pointing. We have us making good progress down the range. RD-180 continues to look good. Pump speeds, injector pressures. And the booster has throttled back. We're on schedule. Engine response looks good.
That was cool.
2 minutes, 25 seconds into flight.
All systems continue to look very good at this point. Currently flying at an altitude of 48 miles, downrange distance 85 miles, current velocity 5,995 miles.
Hard to believe it's 100 miles away.
And we have fired the RCS power valve. The system is now pressurizing the flight levels. Signatures look good.
Three minutes into flight, about 30 seconds away from jettison of the payload bearing, which has protected NOAA's GOES-R during its flight through the atmosphere.
And we have begun throttling. to 2.5 Gs in preparation for payload burn jettison. Booster engine signatures look good.
Everybody racing. Good luck tomorrow. Yeah, everybody have a good race tomorrow.
And we have payload burn jettison.
I just don't think
Looks like a big jettison.
it's not tall.
3 minutes, 42 seconds into flight.
Far so good.
And we have throttled back up. Next, approaching our 4.6 G constant throttle. And we throttle. Boost phase cool down is underway.
About 30 seconds away from booster engine cutoff.
Christy.
While the launch vehicle soon flew out of sight, that was not the end of the story. 3.5 hours after launch, GOES-R successfully separated from the upper stage of the rocket. Over the next several weeks, it would boost itself to geostationary orbit, at which point it was renamed GOES-16. On January 15, 2017, GOES-16 sent back its first image. The other instruments were activated and tested in the following weeks. While the satellite was still officially experimental, forecasters would use its data frequently during the busy 2017 Atlantic hurricane season and other severe weather events, as shown by the following examples. Tornadic thunderstorms over southeastern Louisiana, February 7, 2017. Hurricane Irma on September 8, 2017. Hurricane Harvey on August 25th and 26th, 2017. In January 2018, GOES-16 replaced GOES-13 as the operational GOES-East satellite and took these multispectral images of the bomb cyclone blizzard.